So this is the Toronto After Dark audience. What do you think of our reactions? A little better than Sundance?
You know, it's different, but I feel like I'm at a hometown game, so this is good. Real fans, not a bunch of Mormons, but not.
Okay. And you've got a couple of the cast here. Do you want to welcome them up?
We do. We have Marcia Bennett here. So Marcia, why don't you come up? Dina from the film. And this is pretty rare because this is the second film festival I think that Mr. Bridgers, Sean Bridgers, has been able to attend. So Sean Bridgers, Chris Cleek from The Woman.
Good job. Give it up. I'm going to ask a couple of questions before we throw it to the floor. This film, can you just fill people in? This is part of a series, or there was a prequel to this called Offspring, which I believe you directed. Do you want to tell fans how this sort of fits in with the canon of the woman's story?
Certainly. Jack Ketchum, I had worked with on Jack Ketchum's The Girl Next Door, which I produced. And I had kind of come off that film wanting to do something that was just kind of a fun, gory, bloodfest genre movie, so I did Offspring. And all of a sudden when I made this film, I directed it, I was kind of falling in love with this woman character that in the novel died, but my best friend from kindergarten was like, dude, that character needs to live at the end of Offspring. And so I kept her alive, and then I finished the movie, and for me, the woman's performance in Offspring was the most exciting thing about the movie. So I immediately asked Lucky if he would come to New York from Oklahoma, in the sticks where he lives, and he said sure. And, you know, he had, been friends with Jack Ketchum, so it's kind of how we connected. And then Jack Ketchum and him came to Kodak, screened The Offspring, and immediately felt that the woman character definitely was worthy of having her own movie. So here we are.
And it's the same actress, right?
It is Pollyanna McIntosh.
Give it up for that fantastic performance from Pollyanna McIntosh. That was great. One thing
you've got the best villain.
We do.
Of 2011 here.
And I believe that is one of the Fan Choice Awards that you could possibly be winning next week. Yes, it could be the best villain right here. Let's talk about your performance here, Sean. I mean, this is just an amazing, amazing, riveting, dark character, but also very funny at times. Do you want to talk about how your delivery of this character and how you got into character and maybe some of the inspirations for developing this character?
I don't know.
Biting yourself?
Well, thank you. I didn't really have to get into character. I think that's weird. The point of, I think the key to playing a monster is that a monster doesn't think he's a monster. And, Adolf Hitler thought he was right. So, as an actor, you just play the scene as honestly as you can. It's really up to the director and the screenwriter and everybody else involved to shape the story. So, as a film actor, your job is to be very focused and concentrated on the moment, scene by scene, to make scenes work. And then I just kind of give it up to them. And then I try to give Lucky a lot of options. So, he could have taken the character, he chose which moments I would do sort of funnier versions and then darker versions and just let him sort of do it. That's my job, is to give him options. So.
Do you want to give an example of a scene where you were doing that in the film and you chose
all of them, really. Honestly, like the scene. Okay, so when I first introduced the woman to the family and everybody leaves and it's just me and Brian, and he says, "Do we really get to keep her, Dad?" Well, I gave Lucky 4 or 5 different versions of yes, we do. Right? You can give. So we just went through different versions of it, and then he uses what he thinks works best because it's his movie, really. So that's my job.
Fantastic.
It's not like a play. A play, you get to sort of shape it at the time.
A fantastic performance. One round of applause for this. Marsha, I want to ask you, you've worked with Lucky on a bunch of projects before. What was it like particularly to work here on The Woman? And maybe you can use that mic, that'd be great. And also, there has been some criticism circling about this film. Some people are describing it as anti-feministic. I wouldn't even know how to wade into the feminist waters because I'm not an expert on it. Maybe you can give like a female's perspective on what you think of this film.
Well, yeah, you're right about that. Dina's part is relatively small, let's face it, in this movie, but it is the fourth film I've done with Lucky McKee. And they've all been in the horror genre, The Woods, Masters of Horror, Sick Girl, and, oh my God, what was it? Red. We won't, shh. And, no, when I first read this one, though, what struck me from the page in my brain was that it was it's an allegory. It's an allegory, and I looked upon the role of the woman in this as, I mean, obviously misused, but pure in her ethics, in her morals, as it were. The thing that drives goodness is behind her and in her, and this is the evil that is rampant. I'm sitting there reading this page after page after page, and I'm thinking, yeah, I get this. I get what he's trying to do. It's going to be hard to watch if he films it, which he did. And so I think from a feminist point of view, it is very strongly pro-woman, and Lucky is the most pro-woman director I know. He always writes for women, he writes great roles for women. Angela Bettis has worked with him so many times, and she was in Sick Girl, we were in that together, and May, that Lucky directed. And the unity among his cast, I mean, women want to work with this man again and again and again because he is, he writes well for women. And though there is extreme violence in this, I feel like it's cathartic at the end. That's why you see that walk that Pollyanna does at the end, and you just go, okay, she's free. You know, I don't know. I love what Sean does. It's a joy to do our little scene together there. And anybody got any questions?
Yeah, let's open up to the floor. Go for it. I'm sure you got a hand over there. Go. You want to talk more about that writing and development phase for the film and how conscious you were of how it would be received?
You know, I mean, from my perspective, I think what I missed in terms of opportunity with the woman character in Offspring was certainly kind of exploring her mind. And I think, you know, she's kind of like this intriguing character in Offspring, but you don't feel like you get to know her psychologically. So the intent of Lucky was really to get inside her head, and when he pitched the original idea for this movie, he was talking about really keeping it a lot of close, you know, shots, a lot of wide-angle lens stuff that was focusing on her eyes and her performance that was nonverbal. So, you know, we never, you know, I mean, I'm a huge fan of Lucky. I loved May, Sick Girl. I never sat down and said, make the characters likable enough that men are going to like the movie too. And that never was something that was discussed. But it was very important that Lucky and Dallas, Jack Ketchum, had the opportunity to kind of take this character and really explore again the psychology of it, but also allow, you know, other people to enter her world that were so different, I think, that shows her reacting to a completely different world than we've seen her in an Offspring or off-season. Well, actually, she's not in off-season, but in Offspring. So, Sean, did Lucky ever discuss any of that with you?
Not specifically, but I know that Lucky is. He's very interested in how we treat each other as human beings, and he's always pulling for the underdog. And if you look at his work, that's certainly the case. And terms of the feminist issue, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, she's to me, the woman is just that. She's a sort of, it's not that she's perfect or whatever, but she's an essential, pure human being. She's actually the human, right? And I know that for me, this is not really on the subject, but your question, but one of the things that I liked about the script when I first read it, and Lucky didn't like me talking about this, and he would sort of like go, I don't want to talk about that, when we would discuss it, is that like with Chris Cleek, when I first started doing my costume and stuff like that, I wanted to get one of those American pins, those American flag pins, and he was like, no, that's too on the nose, you know, because I always sort of thought, we were talking about, you know, that to a certain degree, you can look at this whole story as Chris Cleek represents the first world, and the woman represents this sort of more elemental human being, right? Who's every day is getting up and finding something to eat, and her existence. And I think they established it early on that like she's lost because she's lost her family and she's injured, and so she's sort of the third. In my view, she was sort of the third world, and Chris Cleek represented the first world. Who's all smiles, and yeah, we're going to help you, and I have a great car, and I've got everything under control, and I can control it all, and really, I just want to raid the village. I'm not even aware of that, and I probably am not even really aware of it until I just decide, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I didn't answer your question, but
We're actually a little pushed on time for our gala screening coming up, so we've got time for just 2 more questions. Throw your hands up quickly. Do you want to go there? Go.
Yeah. The score for this movie is very light. So can you talk about that?
it's very what?
Light. It's
Talk about the score, the music. Yeah.
Can you talk about the score for the movie?
It's a very interesting score. It's very
Absolutely. I mean, Sean Spillane, who wrote all the songs and music for the film, actually went to USC with Lucky McKee, and a lot of what was intended to do was, you know, to really create a soundscape for the film that would, you know, open up a whole nother, I think, dimension to what the story was all about. And I think if you watch, you know, it definitely makes for multiple viewings, you know, it makes it definitely more interesting when you listen to the music again and again. It's kind of like indie rock infused into this, which is pretty American, you know, it's American indie rock. It's very American, and I think it works quite well in terms of, and we are selling the album too, so.
We'll talk about that in a moment.
Yeah, we'll take it.
But yeah, give it up for that amazing soundtrack. It's fantastic.
But the soundtrack was done. I know that Lucky told Sean Spillane not to do a score. He was not interested in a score per se. He said, just write songs. And Sean said, well, you want me to write songs about the scenes that you're shooting? And he goes, no, dude, just stay, hang out, pick up the vibe, write songs. Just write songs. So Sean just wrote a lot of songs, and Lucky and the editors placed them and put them in certain places, and they tweaked them a little bit here or there. But yeah, it was a very organic process. All of it was.
Yeah, and just to add to that really quickly, like it was all recorded in a high school music room actually. Like most of it was written. We built that set, the Root Cellar, on a basketball court. So they were working downstairs while we were shooting upstairs, and there was certainly a dynamic between the editor where he gets songs and he'd edit to the music as we were going through the process. You know, we were lucky enough where I was like, you know, able to find enough money to be able to bring Sean, the guy who wrote the music, in early enough with the sound designer, so they could work while we were in production, which is very rare for an independent film, but you know, it's so key for kind of what Lucky wanted to do with this.
I've got time for one more. Anybody at the back want to throw something out? Filmmakers here? Anybody else? Behind her they go.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask about the woman, how the actress got into sort of role as the woman. I mean, she had pretty much went through a lot. Talk about that.
Do you want to talk about how the actress
Drank a lot, just a lot of vodka. I don't know. She's really talented, and no, she did a lot of research. I mean, in terms of she worked out in a sort of a specific way, so that it wasn't lifting weights per se, but like working out, trying to sort of develop muscles that she thought would be sort of natural. I know that she spent a lot of time before she came to Massachusetts, sort of in the woods, spent several days, sort of, you know, all that sort of stuff, but not shaving,
Except your armpits.
all that. But no, she's just really great, so she just sort of locked into it. And the whole set was you know, it was a lot of really good experienced pros who understood when to leave her alone, and you know, but she didn't walk around all day going, "Rah!"
Was that her own growl, though?
Oh yeah.